Real estate investment practice problem using Excel. Amortization schedule, where we'll be changing the payment and looking at the impact in the home value, keeping everything else constant. Get ready because it's time to raise the stakes with real estate. Here we are in our Excel worksheet. If you have access to the Excel worksheet, would like to follow along, note that we have 3 tabs on down below. We got the example tab, the practice tab, and the blank tab. Let's take a look at them now, starting with the example tab, which is in essence the answer key. The information is going to be on the left-hand side. We're now going to be changing the payment amount and then seeing the impact, holding everything else constant, and changing the home value, 20% of the home value, also then changing the loan amount, keeping constant then the term at the 30 years as well as the rate at the 5%. We will do this by doing a comparison calculation down below, payment amounts for these various payments, and then calculate what we believe the home value would be, holding everything else constant. We'll also add the drop down up top so we can have these items populate up here, which will populate this item and our table. If you want to see how to create the table itself, you can take a look at prior presentations. We will then use that table to create a pivot table and then use the pivot table to compare some more information that could be relevant to get some ideas of what you could do when you customize your worksheet from there. If we go over to the practice tab, the practice tab will have some pre-formatting in it. So it'll have these blue areas where you can populate and have a little less of the formatting task, but still work the practice problem. On the right here, we have some more tables there as well. On the blank tab, which is where we'll be working, we're just going to build this thing from scratch in the new areas. All the new stuff, we'll just build it, we'll format it, and it's going to be great. Okay, so we've already recalculated basically the items up top, meaning what's going to happen here is we're going to assume the payment is what we're going to be populating into this cell. Everything else is going to be calculated from the payment. So this is the one with the hard-coded number. We're simply typing it in at this point in time. The rate is not changing. We're keeping that at the 5%. We're going to say 30-year loan, months 360, and we adjusted the calculation for the home amount, which is a present value calculation, to get how much home we could purchase, keeping everything else constant, and then changing the payment amount here. So let's put it back down to like 1,200. That changes the home value up top. So we got this nice little worksheet that kind of backs into the home value, keeping everything else constant while we adjust the payment amounts. Now, if we want to see the payment amounts in the different homes as they change side by side, we could do our little table down here, bring in a payment amount and the home value. This will help us to practice the calculation, same calculation we did up here, so we can see how we can basically back into the loan amount or the home amount. So we'll do this in 2 steps because this is a little bit tricky, because normally we would be backing into the loan amount, and then we're going to say that the loan amount, is 20% or 80% of the home price. So then we can back into the home amount with one formula. So let's see how that could work. Let's go ahead and highlight these. We're going to go to the Home tab, Font Group, make this black and white. Let's go ahead and center that. We're going to have our payments, which we're going to say, let's start at 600 and then add them in increments of 200, doing it thusly, equals the item above it plus 200. And then we're just going to copy that on down till we get to like 3,000 on the payment. So as our payments change, then how much home could we purchase at a 5% rate, 30-year fixed? So we're going to say Home tab, alignment and center, home value calculation. Now, when we look at the home value, note that we've been calculating basically the present value. Like if you look at the present value or the payment calculation, if you look at the payment calculation, PMT, which is what we have some practice with, you could see that the actual loan amount is that PV amount we've been putting in there, which is simply a present value calculation. So if I had everything else and I'm trying to calculate the loan amount, it's a present value type of calculation in essence. So present value calculation would look something like this: negative present value, shift 9. I put a negative because I want it to result in a positive number. If I do not do that and I have no other negatives, it'll be a negative number. You could put the negative in the payment, but I like to put it up front when I can. So the rate is going to be then this 5% up top. So we're going to pick up that 5%. That's a yearly rate, so we got to divide it by 12. Also, we don't want it to move down when we copy down. Therefore, we're going to make it absolute with an F4 on the keyboard, $ before the B and 7. You only need a mixed reference, but an absolute one works. Dividing it then by 12. Then we're going to say comma to the next argument, number of periods. The number of periods is going to be 360, 12 times 30, or 30 times 12 months. So we just already calculated it at the 360. Once again, we need it to be absolute. F4 on the keyboard, $ before the B and the 6, comma. Then the payment, that's the amount that we're going to be changing on the left. So we're going to be changing it on the left. We have it up here. We're not going to be picking it from the data set. We're going to eventually pick this amount in the data set from our table with a drop down below. This one we do want to copy down as we go down. So we're going to leave it like this. We're going to say enter. And so there we have it. Now note this calculated basically the loan amount, not the home amount. Meaning if I was to copy this down, or if I was to copy this down to the 1,200, let's say, 1,200, we get to that 223,538. That's the amount of the loan. And what I'd like to do is get up to the amount of the home value. So if I'm now resulting in this number, we know that basically this times 20% would be this. So if I take this number times 80%, I would get to here, right? So if I took this number times 80%, I would get to there. So if this is the amount of the loan, I want to, in essence, divide it by 80%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more step to not get us to the loan amount, but to get us, I'm going to delete these. I'm just going to double click on this. I want to take this entire thing and divide it by, and I'm not just going to type in 80% because I want to pick up the 80% from our data in case I change it. So I'm going to say 1 minus the 20% down. And that allows us to, if we change the 20% to like 10% down or something, then this should populate for us automatically as well. It's coming from the data set, so we need to make it absolute. F4 on the keyboard, $ before the B and the 2, closing it up. And then we can close it up again, 2 brackets, and then enter. And so it still says I only needed 1 bracket. All right, just put 1 bracket, and there it goes. Now if I copy this down, once again to the 1002, let's see if it calculates what it should. It's at the 279,422. So that's the 279,422. So it looks like it's doing at least what we did up top. Looks like it's doing it properly. So once again, we got the payment, which is not giving us the loan amount in this case. We tried to get it all the way up to the home value. So in other words, how much home could we purchase then for these payment amounts based on this information? We'll drag that on down, and then we got the payment versus the home value given the rates there, which is nice. Okay, so now let's format this. We're going to say, let's make this blue. We're going to go bracket it and blue it. Font group, we're going to say bucket. If you don't have that blue right there, you can go to the more colors down here and make it blue right there in the standard, and OK. Put some borders around it. Font group, drop down all borders, borderize it all the way across. It's been bordered. And then we can do our drop down thing that we've done up here to do the fancy drop down. Fancy, pantsy, drop down, data tab up top. We're going to go to the data tools. We want to go to this item, which is the data validation. I'll validate this data. It shouldn't be any value. We don't want just any value. We want the ones that are in our list, the list of values, source, down here, these payment amounts. That's where we want those values to be coming from. And then we're going to say OK. So there we have it. There's our drop down. And we got our list and our values. Fancy, pantsy. Okay, so then on the right-hand side, the amortization populates for us, and then we'll create our pivot table and get some more information. So just from this, you can, of course, see the payment and the home values if we keep everything else constant, meaning we got the 5% on the rate, 30-year loan, 360 payments, and that's going to be the first kind of comparison that you probably would be considering, and then you might want to add some more data and see what else would be happening if this was the place, if this took place. If you were to change the payment and say, well, what if I paid $1,000? Then we're saying home value $232,852. That should match the amount down here, $232,852. 20% of that would be $46,570 that you'd have to put down. The loan amount then being at the $186,286, and so on and so forth. Let's go ahead and right click down here has been our practice. Oh, not right click. I'm going to add a pivot table. Let's go add a pivot table. Go into the Insert tab. Go to the tables and make the pivot table. Make sure you're up top because you want to see the first row up here. I'm going to put it in an existing worksheet. We'll keep it in this worksheet. Keep everything together. Location. We're going to put it up here in K1 blank. The blank worksheet K1. And then OK. We'll do this quickly because we've seen it a few times. We're going to drag to the right if you want to see it slowly. Take a look at some prior presentations. We go a little bit slower there. We go a lot slower. I feel like we do like a really good job of doing it slow in the first couple ones. But in any case, here we're going to hit the years. There's the value. We're going to pull that on over to the left to the rows. And then we're going to pick up the payment, the interest, the loan reduction, the loan balance. And then we're going to format these as we've seen in the past. We're going to hit the drop down to do so. The field value. Number formatting. I like to go to currency, brackets, no dollar sign, no decimals. Okay. Okay. And then again, drop down for the interest rate. Value the field. Number format. Currency. Brackets. No dollar sign, no decimals. Okay. Okay. Then this is the last one that's normal. The next one's a little bit different. Number format, currency, brackets, no dollar sign, no decimals. Okay, okay. And then the last one's a little different, you'll recall. Value the fields. We want to take the min value because we want the minimum balance at the end of the year. And then we're going to number format. This part's the same. Currency, brackets, no dollar sign, no decimals. Okay, okay. And then we could do some formatting as we've done in the past. We'll just put some brackets around this thing just to make it look a little bit the way, home tab, font, bracketized, borderize or boldentize it. And then we can go to our header here and we do our black and white thing. Font group, bucket, black, and then white. We can wrap the text in the alignment group, wrap the text. We can center it. And then I'm going to center this whole column, centering that column. And then I'm going to select these 4 and squish them together. Squish them together like so. And then we'll do our other kind of data analysis that you might pull from something like this. So this time we might put the header up here just to practice doing our header up top. We might say something like, we want this to be called home. First of all, I'm going to make this cell wider because this is going to be a 2. I'm going to hit Alt-Enter, so I want a wide cell just so it doesn't look funny. Home value change. That's what's going to change. Then I'm going to hit Alt-Enter, and that goes underneath but not to another cell. 5%. And then I'm looking at the interest payments that we're going to be making. And now I'm going to copy that across to 4 cells because we're going to have 4 cells. We might put it down here first. The 4 cells will be year. We're going to assume a payment of $1,200. That's what we're changing, 1,600 and 2,000, and then see what this will result in. So I'm going to put this header across those 4 cells, which you can do by going to the Home tab, Alignment, and Merge. But I don't like using that because it messes things up. So I'm going to right-click on it instead. And then go to the Format Cells, Alignment, and then Horizontal, and then we want to center across. Totally centered. We're totally centered around here. Okay. So then we're going to center this one. Home tab, Alignment, center there. And then let's make this black and white. Font group, black, white. We can make this a little bit larger. So let's do it. If we can do it, then why not do it? So there, we'll make that a little bit bigger. Maybe that's good. Okay, and then we're going to go over here, do the same thing over here, same kind of thing. I'll make this cell a little bit larger so it doesn't look funny when we first do it. We're going to call this home value change, Alt-Enter, 5% is the rate, and then we're looking at the loan balance. Now, I'm going to do the same formatting. This is going to be equal to the year, copying that across to the 3 other cells with the autofill. And then we'll do the same kind of thing here. Right click, format the cells, alignment, horizontal, center across, OK. Center these ones by going to the alignment, center, make that a little bit bigger, like 14 here. Black and white, the header, by going font group, black, white. Years, 1, 2, buckle my shoe or tie my shoe, because I have shoelaces. And then we're going to take the fill handle and drag it on down to 30. Going to right click and copy those and put them over here too. I'll put them right there too. We should center it probably, alignment and center. And then we'll do our same kind of analysis we have seen in the past, just to get some ideas of what you could do with your pivot table. So we'll say, okay, what if I changed my payment to $1,200, because I know I can pay $1,200. How much house could I buy? It looks like $279, $422, which should match this amount for this amount here, $279, $422. 20% would be $55,884 down. Loan then would be the $223,538, 30-year 5%. And then if my amortization tables here, if I refresh our pivot table, right click, refresh, that's what it'll look like on the pivot table. If we want to do a comparison of side by side of the interest rate and loan balances, we can copy the interest rate here, like so. Right click, or I'm going to say Control C, copy, put that right here. Right click, pasting it 1, 2, 3, just the values only. These will not change as we change the data. But this is just some things you can do with the pivot table. Control C on the balance. We'll put that over here on the balance. My years are in the wrong area. What was I thinking? Paste 1, 2, 3 over that, and then I'm going to copy these years again. Put them right here. And center that. Okay, that's better. And then I'm going to paint this one, because I think I centered these, and I don't want these centered. That's funny. Okay, hopefully that didn't throw anybody off too horribly badly. Okay, so now let's change this then to 1,600. 1,600. That means how much home could we purchase based on this information? 372,563, 20% down would be 74,513. That would give us the 298,051. That home value should match what we have down here. 372,563. That looks right. Let's go ahead and calculate the pivot table. Refresh it. Right click. Refresh. And then we'll copy the interest items. This is what the interest would look like under those circumstances. Control C. Pasting that here. Right click. Pasting it 1, 2, 3. Copying the balance then. The balance. Copying that amount, Control C, putting that up top, 1,006, and pasting it 1, 2, 3. Okay, then let's do it one more time. The last one was 2,000. Let's bring this on down to 2,000. We can afford 2,000. How much house could we purchase for 2,000 under these conditions? We'd have the 465,704, not a dollar more. 20% of that would be the 93,141. Loan amount then would be the 372,563. This home amount should be matching what we got down here for the 2,000, 465,704. It does. Amortization table populates automatically. Let's refresh the pivot. Right click pivot table. There's what the pivot table looks like. Let's copy our data from there. Interest calculation. Selecting that cell, Control C, putting that up top in the 2,000, right click, pasting it 1, 2, 3. We'll take the minimum balance, do that, or this is the loan balance, Control C, and we'll paste that on over here. Right click, paste it, 1, 2, 3, just to get us an idea of what we can do here. So now we got our comparisons of our different payment amounts for the rate and basically the loan balances that we would have with them. Let's go ahead and format these as has been our custom. I'm gonna select these items. Let's do it at the same time this time. I'm gonna select these, hold down Control. Now I'm holding down Control and selecting two non-adjacent things. They're not next to each other with the Control. And then we're gonna go to the letting go of Control font group, bucket, making that blue, and borderizing it at the same time. Let's put our total down here. The total equals the SUM, Shift 9, up arrow, holding down Shift, climbing to the summit of the column so that we can sum up the column. Make sure you don't pick up the header, which is also a number, because that would mess it up. Don't want it to be messed up. We want it unmessed up. And then we'll go ahead and bluify and borderify that as well. So there's just some ideas of what we can do with this kind of information. Again, focusing this time on the changing of the payment and how much home we could purchase, keeping the interest rate fixed and the periods fixed. Now, the next thing, the last one we can do here that we might take a look at is to say, well, what if I change the payment, keep everything fixed, and then change the term of the loan to 15, 20, or something along those lines?